I was never meant to walk into that room. I wasn't on the guest list, I didn't have a badge, and technically the building doesn't even allow walk-ins after 5 p.m. But the receptionist had stepped away from her desk, and the elevator didn't ask questions. I still don't know why I did it. Maybe some twisted mix of instinct and caffeine. But when those doors slid open on the 6th floor, everything changed. It wasn't quiet. It wasn't loud either. The kind of hush that comes when something has just happened and no one's quite sure how to recover. Half the team was standing. One woman was picking up papers off the floor. A laptop screen blinked in sleep mode. Someone's phone was buzzing in their pocket, ignored. My eyes scanned the room, and then there she was, sitting on the edge of a faux leather couch, her back stiff, arms crossed like she was trying to physically hold something in. My wife. Dressed in a blazer I'd never seen before, and heels she'd sworn she didn't own anymore. Her lips were slightly parted, as if she was about to say something but couldn't decide on the right version of the truth. She saw me. And the color drained from her face like a sink being unplugged. Behind her, a man stood, tall, lean, and too comfortable. He didn't flinch. He didn't even look confused. He just adjusted his collar and quietly stepped to the side, like a magician after a trick. No one said a word. Not a single damn person in that room greeted me. They just stared. So I smiled. That stupid kind of smile you force when your heart is pounding in your ears and your hands are shaking from adrenaline you don't know what to do with. "I'm just here to pick her up," I said, holding up my keys like some kind of peace offering. My wife stood slowly. She walked toward me like she was heading to her own sentencing. No eye contact, no kiss. Just a low, flat voice. "Let's go." We didn't speak in the elevator. We didn't speak in the parking lot. But as soon as we got in the car, I noticed something on her wrist. A red smudge. Lipstick? Ink? I didn't ask. I just stared at it until she pulled her sleeve down without a word. I drove us home in silence. But that silence, it was loud enough to break things. We didn't talk that night. Not while she reheated leftover lasagna. Not while I pretended to scroll through Reddit, even though I was just staring at the same post for 15 minutes. Not when we went to bed, and she faced the wall like I was contagious. But I couldn't sleep. I lay there with my eyes open, blinking into the dark, counting the seconds between her breaths. Normally she snores just a little when she's truly asleep. Not loud, more like a soft flutter. But that night, nothing. She was awake too. I could feel it. Two strangers lying in the same bed, both pretending. Around 2:30 a.m., I got up, claiming I needed water. Truth was, I needed space to think. I sat at the kitchen table in the dark, with the fridge light casting long shadows. I kept replaying that meeting room in my head, the way they all froze, the lipstick smudge on her wrist, the man behind her, who looked more like a secret than a coworker. Then I remembered something strange. Earlier that day, when I picked her up, she asked me to drive her car instead of mine. "You parked behind me, right? Just take mine," she said quickly, tossing me the keys. It didn't register then, but now it stuck out like a snapped wire. She never likes me driving her car. Claims I mess up the seat position. I took the keys off the counter, slipped outside barefoot. The driveway was slick from rain. I sat in her driver's seat with the dome light off, letting the cold soak into my arms. Everything in the car smelled like her, citrus perfume, lavender lotion. I opened the glove box, not sure what I was even looking for. That's when I saw it, an envelope, thick, cream-colored. No name, no label, just sealed, tucked beneath her insurance papers like it had fallen down there by accident. But it wasn't an accident. I opened it. Inside was a folded piece of cardstock, not a letter, an invitation, handwritten in fancy cursive. Jade and Elliot's secret celebration, this Friday, 9 p.m., 1411 Welling Drive. Formal attire required, no plus ones. I stared at it like it might vanish if I blinked. Who the hell were Jade and Elliot? Why secret celebration? Why no plus ones? And more importantly, why was my wife invited? I took a photo of it with my phone, put it back exactly as I found it, locked the car, went inside, and crawled back into bed. She was still facing the wall, still breathing slow and fake. My brain wouldn't shut up. I kept thinking about that man in the meeting room, the way he didn't seem surprised to see me, the way she panicked, but he didn't. There's something about that address. 1411 Welling Drive. It sounds familiar, but I can't place it. I tried Googling it on my phone under the covers, but all I found was a blurry satellite image of a private residence with a gate. No photos, no names. And here's the worst part. She told me she had a late work dinner scheduled for this Friday. So now I know where she'll be, and I'm not invited. But I'm going anyway. I spent the entire Friday pretending not to care. I acted normal, or whatever normal is when you're watching someone lie to your face in slow motion. Myra wore that same blazer from the meeting, the one I now hate, and added heels she hadn't touched in years. When I asked where the dinner was, she barely looked up from her phone and mumbled something about a client mixer in Shoreline. "Will you be late?" I asked. She paused just for half a second too long. "Probably not. I'll text you when I'm heading back." She wouldn't. By 8:15 she was out the door. Her perfume lingered like an accusation. I waited 10 minutes, then grabbed my keys. I didn't even need to GPS the address. My fingers had typed it into Google Maps so many times it auto-filled after the first few digits. The drive to Welling Drive took 22 minutes. The street was tucked behind a wooded area, barely lit, with long driveways and wide houses you couldn't see from the road. Old money. The house at 1411 had a stone archway over the gate. A valet in a black coat was waving cars into the driveway. I didn't go in. I parked down the street in front of a hedge and waited. 5 minutes. 10. Then I saw her car. Myra. Same silver Subaru she drives everywhere. She rolled down the window, said something to the valet, and pulled through the gate. I ducked. When I looked back up, something strange clicked in my head. There was a shape in her passenger seat, a shoulder, a shadow, someone next to her. But when she left the house, she was alone. I waited until the valet turned to help another car, then moved. Quiet, low steps along the sidewalk, cutting through a break in the hedges. The property had a side path, not paved, just worn-down grass, like it hadn't been used in years. I followed it until I reached the back corner of the house. From there, I could see everything. The place was massive, old brick, ivy along the side, tall windows glowing faint yellow from within. Whatever this secret celebration was, it wasn't small. Cars lined the circular driveway like it was a private gala. I could hear faint music, jazz, but not the kind you dance to, the slow, eerie kind that feels like it's listening back. There was a side door near the garage, slightly ajar, like someone had come out for air and forgot to pull it shut. I didn't hesitate. I slipped inside. The hallway was dim and empty. I could hear muffled voices, laughter, ice clinking in glasses. I followed the sound. As I turned the corner into the main hall, I froze. People were dressed like they were at a 1920s opera. Velvet dresses, tuxedos, masks, literal masks, black lace, feathers, some even full face with no mouths. It wasn't a theme party. It felt theatrical. Myra wasn't anywhere in sight, but I recognized someone else. The man from the meeting room, the one who stood behind her like he belonged there. He was leaning on the banister above the main foyer, talking to a woman with her back turned. Then the woman tilted her head, and my stomach dropped. It was Myra. She wasn't wearing her work clothes anymore. She'd changed into a red dress. Tight, low-backed, with a slit up the side. Something I hadn't seen her wear in years. She was laughing. She looked beautiful. And nothing like the woman I'd married. I stepped back, heart pounding, and bumped into something. Or someone. A man I hadn't seen before, dressed in all gray, no mask. He looked at me with this weird smirk and said, "You're not supposed to be here, are you?" I didn't answer. I turned and walked, quickly, but not enough to draw attention. I moved through a side corridor deeper into the house until the music faded and I reached a door that was slightly cracked open. Something about it pulled at me. Inside was a room lit entirely in red, not just the lighting, the carpet, the curtains, even the chairs were crimson. A large circular table sat in the center, covered with envelopes, dozens of them, all handwritten, just like the one I found in her glove box. But some of them had names I recognized, her coworkers, her sister, even one addressed to me. I picked it up, my fingers trembling. It wasn't sealed. Inside was a card just like the others, but mine didn't say secret celebration. It said, "Do not interfere again." I stood in that red room longer than I should have. Just me, the envelope in my hands, and the sound of my own heartbeat trying to break out of my chest. Do not interfere again. What the hell did that even mean? Again? Like this had happened before. I checked the rest of the table. Every envelope looked like it had been written by the same hand. Same ink, same slant in the cursive. Some were sealed. Some were open and empty, like they'd already been delivered. A few had initials I didn't recognize, and one simply said M. I pocketed mine and turned to leave. That's when I realized the door had closed, and not just closed. Clicked shut. I hadn't touched it. I reached for the handle, but before I could turn it, a voice came from behind me. "You took the wrong invitation." I spun around. There was a woman sitting in the corner in a high-backed red chair I swear hadn't been occupied before. Short black hair, pale skin, wearing a silver eye mask, but her mouth was visible and smiling. I was just looking for someone," I said. She tilted her head like a bird. "You already found her. You just don't know what she is now." The lights flickered once. I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't want to. I opened the door and left without looking back, walking fast down the hallway, past portraits that hadn't been there before, past doors that seemed to shift position when I glanced away. When I finally made it back to the foyer, the music had stopped. So had the laughter. The crowd was still, too still, like a photo that hadn't been unpaused, and standing at the top of the stairs was Myra, looking straight at me, not angry, not scared, disappointed, like I had ruined something sacred. For a moment, I forgot how to move. She just stood there at the top of the stairs, arms resting gently at her sides, looking down at me with a calm so sharp it felt violent. Myra, or at least the woman who looked exactly like her, didn't say a word. She didn't rush down in a panic or call out my name. She just observed me, like I was the one who had changed. I took a step forward and opened my mouth to speak, but she beat me to it. "You shouldn't have come here, Curtis." It wasn't her voice. It was close, too close, but off. Just enough that the syllables landed wrong, like her mouth had learned the words but hadn't practiced them. I'd heard Myra angry before. I'd heard her sad, distracted, exhausted, but never like this. This voice was stripped of warmth, of history. It sounded rehearsed. I blinked too long, my breath caught in my throat. "What is this?" I asked, my voice cracking in the middle. "What are you even doing here? Who are these people?" She didn't move. Her eyes didn't leave mine. "We told you once already," she said. "You don't belong in this." My legs started backing up before I told them to. My body wanted out. But my mind refused. I looked around. The guests, the ones who were frozen before, had started moving again, but not like normal people. They didn't speak. They didn't smile. They just drifted across the floor like dancers following choreography they didn't remember learning. I turned back to her. "What happened to you?" I asked, this time louder, more desperate. "What happened to the woman I married?" For a moment something flickered in her face, a twitch in the corner of her lip, a brief flash of grief, and then gone. She started descending the staircase slowly. I should have backed away. I should have left. But I couldn't. I needed to believe there was something of her still left inside. "You kept saying you wanted more," she said, her heels tapping like a metronome on the stairs. "You wanted to feel close again. You wanted to understand what I do. Well, here you are." The lights above us dimmed slightly. The music returned, faint, like it was being played underwater. "I didn't want this," I said. "But you followed it," she replied. "You followed me." She stepped off the last stair and stood inches from me. Her perfume was different, heavier, the kind of scent that stayed on your clothes long after the person had left. Then she leaned in, not to kiss me, but to whisper something only I could hear. "You were given an out, Curtis. You chose not to take it." I stepped back, my pulse screaming. "What does that mean?" She looked past me, over my shoulder. And then I heard it. The soft click of the door I'd entered through swinging shut again, and the distinct sound of it locking. I turned fast, too fast, and nearly tripped as I stumbled back toward the hallway where I'd come in. The door was there, same as before, but something about it looked wrong, like the frame had grown taller, stretched upward. I grabbed the handle and twisted hard. Locked. No rattle, no give. Just a dead stop, like the door wasn't connected to anything anymore. I hit it with my shoulder. Nothing. It didn't even creak. I was locked in a house that wasn't letting me leave, surrounded by people who didn't talk, and a wife who sounded like someone trying to imitate her. Behind me, the music got louder, got not in volume but in presence, like it was pressing against my skin. I turned back slowly, and the entire room was empty, completely. No guests, no Myra, no man from the meeting, no one. Just silence. I called out, "Myra," even though I wasn't sure I wanted her to answer. I walked back into the main room and froze. The furniture was different, same style, same layout, but everything had shifted. Subtle changes. The painting on the wall, it used to be a black and white photograph. Now it was a crimson oil painting. The piano? Gone. Replaced by a table covered in more envelopes. I stepped closer and saw one lying open, addressed in thick ink, CH. My initials. But this one wasn't empty. Inside was a single Polaroid. Blurry, slightly underexposed. It was me, standing in this exact room, but I was smiling in the photo. And behind me, someone had their hand on my shoulder. Whoever took the picture was inside the house. I stared at the photo, heart thudding like a countdown. The hand on my shoulder didn't belong to anyone I recognized, and the smile on my face, it wasn't real. It was wide, stiff, almost strained. Like I was trying to convince whoever took the photo that I belonged here, that I was one of them. I wasn't. I slid the photo back into the envelope, and as I did, I noticed something strange beneath the table. A thin line of light, a crack in the floorboards. Kneeling down, I brushed the dust away. It was a trapdoor, one that hadn't been there before. No handle, no hinge, just a subtle seam with the faintest glow leaking through. I hesitated for less than a second. The floor gave slightly under my fingers and opened on its own. No sound, just a smooth lift. And beneath it, stairs. Wooden, narrow, leading into darkness. I climbed down, not because I was brave, but because I was done pretending I wasn't scared. The air shifted, cooler, realer, and then a voice, not Myra's, not the masked woman's, my own. "Do you want to wake up now?" I blinked. Suddenly, I was sitting, in a chair. Bright sunlight was pouring through a window to my left. My hands were clean. My clothes were the same ones I wore to pick her up from the meeting that day. I looked around. A living room, ours, the real one. I was back home. Across from me on the couch was Myra. Tears in her eyes, no makeup, just her. She whispered, "Curtis, I'm so sorry." She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out the invitation. The real one, the one I found in the glove box. But this time, it was torn in half. "I was never supposed to take it," she said. "I went to one of their events, just once. I thought it was some secret society thing for work connections. But it wasn't. It was something else. They tried to pull me in. I left before it was too late." I didn't speak. I couldn't. She continued, "They wanted me to bring someone next time. You." The silence after that hit harder than anything they'd shown me in that house. "I didn't," she said. "I swear. I told them no, but they don't let go easily." We sat in that silence together. Finally, I reached across the space between us and took her hand. And for the first time in a long time, I felt her squeeze back. Whatever that place was, whatever game they were playing, it didn't win. We did.